Welcome to the Alpine Church of Spiritual Living. This morning, our first day of April. Very nice. I'm going to be reading the thought for the week, so you in the room can join me as I get down to the part in the bold at the bottom. During this month of April, I've chosen the theme of Step Out in Faith, and this Sunday's topic is entitled Hope Springs Eternal. I will admit for many years I've primarily thought of hope as somewhat of a weak word, as in thoughts of, gee, I hope I can get ... or I hope blank won't happen. But as I have grown in spiritual maturity, I realize hope can take on a whole new and different connotation. As I opened the concordance to my Bible under the word hope, I noticed the list is quite long, and at the top in italicized letters are the words confident expectation. Now that I like. One of the most familiar verses in the Bible on hope was written by Paul in his letter to the Colossians, which states, Christ in you, your hope of glory. Christ is the consciousness of union with the divine. Christ is our bridge, way shower, the loving guiding link that brings us out of mere humanness into the glory of the infinite. When we invite and submit to the Christ consciousness within, we unite with glory, which can also be thought of as splendor, beauty, and triumph. The Christian tradition will be celebrating Easter later this month, where the Christ consciousness rises and is triumphant over death. This valuable lesson gives hope to humankind that life is eternal, that there are many mansions in the Father's kingdom, and when we are cognizant of our relationship as sons and daughters, children of God, we are then able to reap heaven's rewards right here on earth. What is happening right now in your life where you have hope, confident expectation? Think of it as a strong, abiding presence that brings peace and lightheartedness so that you can step out in faith to do those things that ought to be done by you. Realize you are upheld in love's guidance and grace and therefore well equipped to bring forth the glory of God. Say with me, I have confident expectation that the light of God's loving guidance is now and always leading me to my highest good. I am at peace and I am grateful. So I'd like to ask you, if you would, just open your imagination, your mind's eye with me for just a few minutes. And I would like you to consider, viewing in your mind's eye, that life is a river, eternally flowing, and that everything exists within this flow of this river of life. This river is fed by the natural springs within itself. Our lives cannot be separated from this river of life. We don't know what is waiting for us around the bend as we step into the flow of this river of our life, of this eternal life. For we can never step into the same river twice. In our humanness, we desperately want to control. We want to know what is around the bend. We want to know if the flow of life is going to be going with our liking. We have been reading David Hawkins' book, Letting Go, in one of our book studies, and we are studying it. The basic premise is that we have feelings, and to acknowledge them, to let them bubble up, and to not criticize them, not to categorize them, not to say this is good, this is bad, I shouldn't be, but to recognize that this feeling is coming up and allow it to be. Not stuffing it, not ignoring it, but being aware of the process that there is a feeling here. We don't even have to name it, but just allow it to come. And as it comes and we don't resist it and we don't stuff it, it passes on. I have been taking this class with Martha Creek, and she gives us different questions. We've been doing this now since October. Once a month we meet. And she asked, one of the questions in the class was, what do I think would happen if I truly let go? And my egoic mind answered, I would lose control. And I thought that's actually really pretty funny, isn't it? Because do you think that I really can control the flow of life? No. But my mind thinks that. That's what my head thinks. But what we're talking about here is our feelings, this nature of this feeling nature within us that can be very wise if we allow ourselves to go with the flow of it, to let them come up and just simply feel them. One of the quotes that Martha had in the class was, all feelings are fine. Having them is fine. They don't feel fine, but they are. Stop analyzing. That's the habitual mind working. All feelings are fine. Let them be. Remember, this flow of the river of life is always moving, and we will always be having various experiences that reality is presenting us with. And we don't need to categorize, this is a good one, this is a bad one. It's actually really kind of funny. At the beginning of the class, we have a daily text that comes out. And it goes to 16 people in a group text to remind us to do whatever, just a nice, good encouragement thing. But the very first instruction was, do not respond to this group text. Because if you do, everybody gets it, right? And there was one particular person that kept responding. And then another person responded. So I, of course, get on my little phone, and I kind of chastised them, honestly. I said, come on, this is something that doesn't need to be done, da-da-da. Well, later in the day, literally, I was responding to a personal text to an individual, I thought, when I actually had 2 whole paragraphs of information I thought was sending to this one person when I sent it to the 16 people. Yes. And then you appreciated it. Yeah. And so I was very gently reminded, I believe that, you're sending this to the wrong text, to the wrong people. And oh my goodness, what feeling came up for me? Embarrassment. How could I have done that? Just when I had chided somebody else, what did I do? I turn around and do the same thing? And so it's one of those opportunities to play with our emotions, to play with our feelings. And I can step back and go, I was embarrassed. And let it go. Feel the feeling. Don't need to carry it on. Don't need to wallow in it. Just let it go. One of Martha's questions that she has in the class, she said, now answer this question from your heart, not your head. She said, what about letting go is working for you? What about letting go is working for you? And I had 2 answers. My first one was, it's okay if things don't go my way. The second was, I'm okay if I screw up. Because what we're saying here is that this life is continuing to move. How does it relate to today's topic of hope springs eternal? It relates because this life is continually flowing, moving, changing. upon itself, that we are as well. And so, yes, we can, if we so choose, and many times we do it unconsciously, subconsciously, to try to stop the flow of life, to dam it up, to want to change it in some way. Accepting reality for what it is freeing. We don't need to try to control or change what is. What is. One of Martha's quotes is, "All pain is a bridge to another way of being." All pain is a bridge to another way of being. This river of life has many bridges that we are going to be crossing, that we are going to be navigating. And we don't know necessarily how it's going to work. I always remember when you birth your children, the baby comes in and, you've done all these things that you think you can do, but they don't come with an instruction manual. There's no specific instruction manual that can help you when you're raising a child or when you're raising yourself in your own being here on this earth plane. I think that pain is going to be experienced by all of us. None of us are going to get out of this experience of life without pain and even suffering. It is a human condition that we will all experience. And I believe that when we have pain, when we have suffering within ourselves, that is the opportunity to recognize that I can be compassionate. That this pain is allowing me to bring forth this general, beautiful representation of love within myself. For when I have pain and I want to be comforted, I can have that experience from within myself. And if I see someone else experiencing pain, experiencing the restriction of something that is unlike joy and freedom, I can have compassion for them. I can feel our oneness and allow that love that is within me out to share with them. And I look at my faux pas of my texting. I can have compassion for myself, to practice on myself. I see you smiling over there, Vicki. I forget what she responded when I did the text, but she thought it was wonderful.
It made me smile from deep inside because it was one of those moments where you go, yep, we all do it.
Yep, we all do it. Yep. Pot calling the kettle black. Yeah. But what it tells me is that we are this one energy expressing, yes, as multiplicity, as unique expressions. But I believe as we are going through this flow of life, through this river of life, that life is for us. Maybe we can't see it at the moment, but life is literally for each and every one of us. Emma Curtis Hopkins, her famous quote, "This too is God. This too is good, and I demand to see the good in it now." I bought Adeline, my almost 4-year-old, next Sunday, she's going to be 4, granddaughter, some books the other day. I happened to stop at the Alpine Gifts and Garden place where they have all the consignment little booths in the back of antiques and whatnot, and I was just poking around. I found a whole big section of golden books. And so I thumbed through them and I picked out 7 of them that I brought over to, and of course then I give them to Adeline, she goes, "Oh, I now have 100 books." which you probably do good. I have 100 books. One of the books that many of them I'm aware of, familiar with, because, you know, I got them for my kids. And one of them was Scruffy, Scuffy, Scuffy the Tugboat. I don't know if how many of you remember Scuffy the Tugboat. Well, Scuffy the Tugboat is a little toy, and he's sitting on a shelf in a toy store, and he's saying to himself, I belong in bigger water, I belong in a big water, and not just on this shelf in the toy store. And so the man in the polka dot tie comes with his little boy, and they buy the Scuffy Tugboat, and they bring him home, and they put him in the bathtub. And Scuffy says, I belong in bigger waters than this. And so they take him to the stream behind their house, and they put him in the stream, and sure enough, what happens? The stream was fast flowing, and he went bye-bye down the stream. Oh, and he was the happiest camper. He saw so many things on this wonderful journey. But then as he kept going and kept going, it got bigger and bigger. And then he ended up in the harbor. And all these big boats were there, and then he went through logs with the logging people, you know, out on the logs, and he got bumped and tossed, and literally right at the very last moment, as he was about to go out into sea, the man with the polka dot tie reached from the pier and grabbed him and brought him back. And he came back, and he was sailing happily in his bathtub. Now, there's a lot of, I think, lessons in that story. What I see there is the fact that we, in our journey of life, we're always looking, hoping, knowing, confident expectation that there's something bigger, something better out there. And we might get it. We might be able to sail along and experience it. But the bottom line is that wherever we go, whatever experience we have, that there is within us this divine energy and essence of life that will carry us through whatever the experience is that we are going through. That life is for us, no matter what circumstance we are in. And so I thought that it would be appropriate today to wrap up my message with my theme song. You have heard it many times. Been a while maybe, but I sing it every day, and it really is a message of hope. I'm always finding rainbows, knowing good comes my way. My dreams can always be fulfilled as I love each day. Some fellows look and find the bluebird. I always look and find the sun. Some fellows make a winning sometimes. I always know my good will come. Believe me, I'm always finding rainbows, knowing God's ever-present goodness is mine. Have a fabulous day, my dears. Love you.